The job was simple. One passenger, one way. The pay was anything but simple. Enough to retire on. Enough to buy your own moon if you wanted. You accepted the charter without a second thought. Money like that quiets a lot of questions. Your passenger boarded at a private dock. No spaceport, no customs, no names. It was a cloaked figure. The heavy fabric hid everything: face, hands, form. It moved with a strange, silent grace. It never spoke a single word. It just stood in your cargo hold, still as a statue, still as the void outside. You ran the pre-flight check. Systems were green across the board. The destination was a set of deep space coordinates, a blank spot on every known star chart. You shrugged. The client's credits were good. That was all that mattered. You eased the freighter away from the dock. The journey into the unknown had begun. Your ship, the Stardust Drifter, was old but reliable. You knew her every groan, every shudder. But now she was making new noises. The lights flickered in the cockpit. The nav computer would freeze for a few seconds. Then it would correct itself as if nothing happened. You chalked it up to her age. Old ships have their quirks. Then the life support system flagged an error. Atmospheric composition was fluctuating. It was a minor shift, not dangerous. But it was not normal. You ran a diagnostic. The system reported perfect function, a ghost in the machine. You started to feel a prickle of unease. These were not her usual quirks. You decided to check the passenger manifest. The ship's internal sensors should have a basic bioscan. You pulled up the file. Life signs were present, but they were wrong, all wrong. No steady heartbeat, no familiar rhythm of breath. The energy signature was a low, steady hum. It was a pattern you had never seen. It was not human. You sealed the cockpit door behind you. A heavy wrench felt good in your hand, not as a weapon, not yet. Just as a reminder of something solid, something real in a ship full of ghosts. You walked down the cold metal corridor. Your footsteps echoed. The silence from the cargo hold felt heavier now. You stood before the passenger. The cloaked figure had not moved an inch. It just stood there, a pillar of shadow in the dim light. You took a breath. Your voice was steady. "I think it's time we talked." The figure remained silent. "My ship is acting strange, and you are not registering as human." The silence stretched on. You took a step closer. "Show me who you are, or this trip ends right now." The air grew cold. The fabric of the cloak shimmered. Then it fell away. It dissolved into dust. What stood before you was not a person. It was a column of soft, internal light. It was made of crystal and starlight, a form not of man. The being pulsed with a gentle, silent energy. Its shape was humanoid, but impossibly slender. Its core glowed with the warm light of a nebula. Shards of pure crystal floated around it. They orbited its form like tiny moons. It was the most beautiful and most alien thing you had ever seen. You lowered the wrench. It felt foolish in your hand. A voice entered your mind. Not through your ears, but directly. It was a sound like singing crystal, like the whisper of solar winds. It was not a language of words. It was a language of pure meaning. It showed you images, feelings. It was afraid, and it was alone. The being told you its story. It sent images of a world born from a dying star, a planet of living crystal and light. Its people did not know war or hate. They lived in harmony with their star. They measured their lives in the slow dance of galaxies. They were a peaceful, ancient race. Then the hunters came, a vast, dark empire. Their ships were weapons of cold iron and burning ambition. They consumed worlds for resources. They saw the crystal beings as a power source, a thing to be harvested. The empires shattered their world. They hunted the survivors across the empty void. This being was the last one, the last echo of a silent song. The weight of its story settled on you. You were a freighter pilot, a nobody hauling cargo on the edge of civilized space. Now you were harboring the last survivor of a genocide. The empire it spoke of was the Cathar Dominion. You had heard of them. Everyone had. They were ruthless. They were unstoppable. Their law was absolute in a dozen sectors. To help this creature was to break that law. It meant becoming a fugitive. The Cathar would hunt you. They would put a price on your head so high it would block out the sun. They would not stop. They would never stop. Your quiet life was over. You had a choice to make. You could turn back. You could drop the being at the nearest imperial outpost. They would probably reward you. You could walk away and forget this ever happened. Or you could keep going. The being of light stood before you. It did not plead. It did not beg. It simply showed you its existence. It showed you the memory of its lost home, the beauty of its people, the terror of their end. It trusted you with its truth. It trusted you with its life. You looked at its star-born form. You thought about the cold, empty void outside. You thought about the credits in your account. And you knew they meant nothing. Some things were more important than a quiet life. You walked back to the cockpit. You did not say a word. The promise was made in silence, in the dark. You opened the star chart. The original destination was a decoy. The being gave you a new set of coordinates, a place hidden in a dense nebula, a sanctuary known only to a few lost souls, a place called Haven. Setting the new course felt like signing your own death warrant. But it also felt right. You pushed the throttle forward. The Stardust Drifter plunged deeper into the night. Hours turned into days. The ship settled down. The strange glitches stopped. It was just you, your passenger, and the endless stars. A strange sort of peace settled in the cockpit. Then a light started flashing on your console. It was the long-range scanner. You had it set for passive detection, a silent, listening mode. It had picked something up, something big. It was far away at the very edge of sensor range, but its energy signature was unmistakable. A Cathar Dominion warship, a Predator-class dreadnought. It was moving fast. And it was moving in your direction. The hunt had officially begun. The peace was shattered. Fear, cold and sharp, returned. The Cathar ship was a monster. It was 10 times your size. It had weapons that could crack a moon. Your freighter had a pair of old laser cannons. They were good for shooting at space rocks, not for fighting a dreadnought. A direct fight was suicide. Running was not much better. That ship was built for pursuit. But you were not a soldier. You were a freighter pilot. You knew the secret paths, the dirty tricks. You had spent a lifetime slipping past pirates and patrols. You pulled up the sector map. There was an asteroid field nearby. A dense, chaotic mess known as the Grinder. No sane pilot would go in there. The Empire would never expect it. You smiled. It was a grim, tight smile. "All right, old girl," you whispered to your ship. "Let's show this Navy hotshot how we do things out here." You turned the ship hard. You aimed for the heart of the Grinder. The Cathar ship followed, its confidence a beacon of arrogance on your screen. They thought they had you. They were wrong. Navigating the Grinder was a nightmare. Rocks the size of mountains tumbled all around you. Your ship shuddered with near misses. Alarms screamed. You ignored them. You flew on instinct. You danced between the spinning chunks of ice and stone. It was a dangerous ballet. One wrong move, and you would be space dust. Behind you, the Cathar ship was not so nimble. It was too big, too clumsy. You watched on the rear scanner as a massive asteroid clipped its side. The warship's shields flared brightly. It slowed down, forced to be more cautious. That was the opening you needed. You found a large, dense asteroid. You cut your engines and landed on its dark side. You powered down everything but life support. You became just another cold rock in a field of rocks. You waited. The silence was absolute. The Cathar ship swept the field with its powerful sensors. You held your breath. The search beams passed over you once, twice. Then the dreadnought moved on. It assumed you had been destroyed, or that you had somehow slipped through. It did not matter. It was gone. You had done it. You had outsmarted a hunter. You stayed hidden for another full day, just to be safe. In the quiet darkness, the Starborn being reached out to you again. It did not show you fear or sorrow this time. It showed you its world as it was, a vibrant civilization of light, cities made of living crystal that sang in the starlight, beings that danced in the solar winds. It was a glimpse of a life beyond human understanding, a universe of pure beauty. You felt a profound sense of loss for what was destroyed. In return, you tried to explain something human. You thought about your own struggles, the hard years scraping by, the moments you thought you would not make it. You tried to explain hope, the stubborn belief that things can get better, the refusal to give up, even when you are lost in the dark. The beings seemed to understand. A new light bloomed in your mind, a shared feeling, a bridge between two worlds. You finally powered up your ship. The path to haven was clear, but your luck had run out. As you cleared the asteroid field, a new alert flashed. Proximity warning. It was the same Cathar warship. It had not left. It had waited. It had laid a trap. And you had flown right into it. Your ship was caught in a tractor beam. Resistance was futile. Your comms panel crackled to life. A face appeared on the screen. It was a Cathar captain. His features were sharp, predatory. His eyes were cold and black. He did not look angry. He looked bored. "Unidentified freighter," he said. His voice was a low growl. "You have an asset belonging to the Dominion. Surrender it now. We will permit you to leave with your life." He called your passenger an asset, a piece of property. The offer was simple. Betray your promise and live, or stand by it and die. The captain's eyes stared out from the screen. He was waiting for your answer. He was sure he knew what it would be. Everyone had a price. Everyone broke eventually. That was the way of the universe. The Starborn being was silent in your mind. It did not tell you what to do. The choice was yours alone. You looked at the cold face of the Cathar captain. You thought about the vibrant world you had been shown. You thought about the meaning of hope. You had come too far to turn back now. You leaned into the microphone. You gave him one word of human defiance. "Number." The captain's expression did not change. He simply nodded. "So be it." The connection cut out. On your screen, you saw the warship's weapon ports open. Torpedoes began to launch. You were out of tricks. You were out of time. But you were not out of options. There was one last, insane plan. A maneuver so reckless it was not in any textbook. There was a star nearby. A young, volatile blue giant. Its gravity well was immense. Its corona was a raging inferno. To fly near it was to risk being torn apart or incinerated. But its magnetic field was chaotic. It could blind the Cathar's targeting systems. It was your only chance. You pushed the engines to their breaking point. You were riding the solar fire. The ship screamed in protest. The hull heated to a dangerous glow. Consoles sparked and died around you. The heat in the cockpit was unbearable. Outside, the view was a sea of blue and white flame. Solar flares erupted around you like giant, fiery arms. You held the controls steady. Your knuckles were white. The ship bucked and shook. It was trying to tear itself apart. The Cathar ship could not follow you this close. But it could still fire its weapons. You saw energy blasts sizzle past your cockpit. They were firing blind, praying for a lucky hit. You dove deeper into the corona. A massive solar flare erupted directly in front of you. You flew right through it. For a moment, everything was fire. Then, you were through. You were on the other side of the star. The Cathar ship was gone from your scanners. The maneuver had worked. But the cost was high. The Stardust Drifter was dead. The engines were fried. The navigation system was a molten wreck. All you had was emergency power and life support. You were adrift, alone in the deep, silent space. You had won. You had escaped. But now you were just waiting to die. Days passed. The emergency power dwindled. The air in the cockpit grew thin and cold. You had done all you could. The starborn being glowed softly in the cargo hold. It pulsed with a calm, accepting light. It felt no fear, only a deep gratitude. You closed your eyes. You were ready for the end. That is when you saw them. A new fleet of ships appeared on the edge of the system. They did not look like Cathar's ships. Their design was elegant, organic. They looked like they were grown, not built. They moved with a silent, effortless grace. They were not hostile. You felt a ping on your dead communication system. It was a message, a welcome. They were guardians, an ancient alliance of elder races. Your passenger had sent out a call, a final faint whisper across the void. And they had answered. Their ships surrounded your broken freighter. A soft green light enveloped your vessel. Your systems flickered back to life. The air grew warm and fresh. You were safe. The lead ship contacted you. A new being appeared on your screen. It was old beyond imagination. Its eyes held the light of ancient stars. It told you they had been watching humanity for a long time. They were unsure what to make of your species. So much conflict, so much potential. They had watched your journey. They saw a single human in a small ship, a pilot who risked everything. Not for profit, not for glory, but for a stranger, for a promise made in the dark. Your one small act of compassion had shown them everything they needed to know. Humanity, they had decided, was a species worthy of note. You had not just saved your passenger. You had changed the fate of your entire world.